get connected with us. Let us know that this is impacting and transforming your life. We want to know. We want to know you. We want to know about you. We want to hear from you. Today, we'll wrap up the series that we've been talking about, Without Filters, things that Jesus said about life. And we've been talking for the past 3 weeks with this one. Now, about money, things he said about money without filters. So today I'm going to jump in right to something that I know that you probably, if you are from United States, from the north part of the country, from especially from New York or any other states up in the north, you will know this. Or if you've ever been very cold and your body temperature, you will know that it's easier to stay warm than to get warm. If you live in a place in the world where you actually get a very, very heavy winter, very low winter, you will know that it's easier to stay warm than to get warm. When your body is playing catch up, it burns more fuel to create heat. Blood vessels near the skin contract and reduce the blood flow. This creates the stress on the nervous system. And the nervous system said the same thing is true of your money, believe it or not. I mean, sort of. We'll go back to you. We'll jump back at it in a minute. So we've been talking about money, things that money will say if we would talk to you. But the amazing thing is, in this series, we've been talking about 3 things that money will say to you, but assuming our money was trying to help us. None of what will come as a shock to us, because the shock is the parallel between the things that Jesus said without filters about money and what he said. And we also said in the first week that money might say to you, I can add meaning to your life, but I'm not the meaning of life. This is one thing. If money were to talk to you, it will tell you that much. And we also talk about what Jesus said about this same principle that goes accordingly to what he will say to you as well. Money becomes the most meaningful when you use it as a means to an end that doesn't end with you. When you use money as a tool, as a means to an end that is not your pleasure, your desires, it becomes meaningful. You can do great things. I shared a story that really close to my heart in one of the previous message about a gentleman named Antonio that really changed my life, the perspective I have in life, because of how he used money as a tool to make an impact in my life and in other people's life. So when you use money as a means to an end that is not you, it becomes meaningful. To what we actually created this question, to what ends do we want our life to be a means? Basically, the only thing that makes life significant and when you becomes a means to an end. And that end that is not your life. That when you actually find that thing, that cause, that why you want to exist, that why you will be willing to die, that why you'll be willing to commit. When you find the ends that you want and your life becomes so meaningful at that moment. A second thing money might tell us if we would speak, it was this. Money will tell us, I'm a better servant than a master. And the other thing that he will actually also say is, in the end, your self-control determines which of us gets control. Money will tell you, if you let me control you, if you don't have self-control, I'm going to control your life. Our money problems begin with our character rather than our income. I'm going to repeat this again. Many of us think that our money problems, our financial problems, our woes and money, our situations, our stress with financial, it has to do with income. But majority of it has to do with our character. Wrapping up today, here's the third thing that I want to share that money might say to you if it was able to speak. Money will tell you this: I'm easy to keep up with, but I'm difficult to catch up with. You will know that. This is the same thing of saying it's easier to stay warm than to get warm. It's easier to, money will tell you, I'm easier to keep up with, I'm easy to keep up with, but I'm difficult to catch up with. And he will say, keep up or you will be playing catch up. If you don't keep up with me, you're going to be playing catch up. That's something that money might say. It's just like staying warm. You burn more energy and create more stress playing catch up financially. And you know this to be true. When you are short, it's harder to get back on track. than to keep track. It's harder. I'm going to repeat it again. It's harder to get back on track than to keep track. There is no excuse for not keeping up with where our money is going. We should never have to say things like this. It seems to me, your wife or your partner might not accept this. It seems to me that I spend it this way. It seems to me that I spend it on this. We should never say this about money. We should never say, I'm not sure I spent that much. I'm not sure why the account is so low. That cannot be. That cannot be. We cannot say, oh, that cannot be the statement. The bank made a mistake. You know why we should not say that? You know why this is not acceptable, like my friend says? It's not acceptable that we can say this. The reason why is because money comes in a specific amount. And a specific amount comes in. And you know what we do? When the specific amount comes in, when that check comes in, when that amount comes in, we send it places. We send it places. We spend it on things. We buy it. We send it places. Then, to which I say, we should all be knowing where our money is going. We should all be knowing where our money is going. When we lose track of it, it takes over. We feel out of control. If your money started talking, it will tell you, I'm easy to keep track. I'm easy to keep track. But lose track of me, and you will lose your peace of mind. And eventually, you will lose your mind too. You not only lose your peace, you might lose your mind. Money will tell you, I'm easy to keep track. I'm easy to track. But lose track of me, and you will lose your peace of mind. We all need a plan to track our spending. Whether you have a lot or you have a little, it's not just a budget, basically. We all need a plan to keep track of our spending. You might say, oh, Victor, but I have very little. I know my income is very little. I know what I'm going to do with it. I don't need to keep track of it. It doesn't matter the amount. It doesn't matter if you have a lot. It doesn't matter if you have little. We all need a plan to keep track of it. And it's not just a budget. Why is not just a budget? Because a budget is a theory. It's a theory. It's a theory that rarely reflects reality. Why? A budget assumes a specific future. It's good for an estimating, but budgets live in a desktop folder. Basically, we create budgets and we put it away. We never got to it. We forget about them. Sometimes we don't even review it. So basically, we need something more dynamic, something that is more alive. We need a simple way to track your actual spending. You need a simple way to track your actual spending. Why? It's so easy nowadays to do it. It's so easy nowadays. I remember like about a year and 6 months ago, it's not a secret. One of my life struggle is to struggle with losing weight. I've been in this journey, and now the past year and a half, it's been a great accomplishment for me. I've lost about 55 pounds. And the way that I've been doing so is that I decided to keep track of my calories. I want to keep track. And then what I started doing, I started logging everything that I eat, just reading and putting it on my phone and the notes app. And after that, I decided, let me ask somebody that works with me. Let me ask her to help me create a spreadsheet where it will be easier to do the math at the end of the day. You know, I had a $2,000 calorie budget for the day, and I would just add everything that I eat, and if it's less than 2,000, I'm good. If it's more, I'm in trouble. So, and at the end of the day, I said, this should be an easier way. If I ask for a spreadsheet, there should be something. So I went to the app store, and I found this app. It's called Lose It, and I started using it, and it was so easy for me to keep track, because if you develop this habit of just keeping track of what you eat or what you do, and to the topic that we're talking, and if you develop this habit of keeping track of your money, there will be no guessing game. There will be no seeming. There will be no, oh, it seems like I spent it. Oh, I don't know how that happened. You will stop. There will be less worrying. There will be less wondering, and there will be less pressure. Because when you know where your money is going, when you start tracking your money, life becomes easier. Because you know why? When you know you're going to record it, you will be more inclined to consider whether you should afford it. And this. I found myself doing this when it comes to eating. Now that I was counting calories, when I saw a plate, I saw that it was 6,000 calories, and I already have 12,000 calories, 1,200 calories consumed. So now I'm considering, it's 2 p.m. Can I really eat this? I'm not gonna have calories for the night. So now, because I know I have I'm keeping track to say this. Because I'm keeping track, now I'm considering now to see if my next step is a smart option. Because you know why? It will help you in your finances, because when you know that you're going to record it, that you're going to show it, that you're going to report it, you will be more inclined to consider whether you should afford it. It has the same effect when you do it with money as you do everything when you eat. And when you live in the paycheck to paycheck seasons, this habit of recording it or keeping track of your money take the pressure off. You know why it takes the pressure off? Because it takes the guesswork out. It takes the guess. You already know where to spend. It's easier to know what to cut and where to cut it back. And when to cut back. You will know if you should cut. I remember a couple of years ago, my wife and I decided to get out of debt. And when we started putting all our debts and finances and bills, we realized that we were spending so much money eating out that if we only cut back in eating out and we'll cook more at home, we'll be able to get out of debt in months. And because we were willing to put everything down one by one, and we were able to report, to record, to track, we were able to see that we have more than we needed to be out of debt, and that we were always making enough money to meet our finance, our needs, but we were just not looking at it because we were not tracking it. And reality is, in the years of plenty, when you have more, having this habit will put the pressure on. Basically, because sometimes as you accumulate and earn more money, you get confronted by how much you're spending on yourself. Because sometimes you're spending very little. You're making very little, and you say, you know what? I don't have enough money to do stuff for me. But now you start making more money. And you realize as you make more, sometimes you get confronted by how much you spend on yourself, and you are confronted with how little you actually give. It's embarrassing sometimes, because now that you make more, you actually give less. But it can also be motivating, and it can also be inspiring for you to make a difference. You know why? Because the more you have and the more you make, the closer attention you should pay to where your money is going. Why? Because you don't want to fall into the trap. You don't want to fall into the trap. You don't want to fall into the trap that now that you're making more, you're actually giving less because you're investing in more and spending in more in yourself. The more you have and the more you make, the closer attention you should pay to where it's going. It is not because you have to do this, but it's because it's in your best interest to do it. Otherwise, if you're not careful, you will fall into the rut of storing up treasure for yourself on earth, which will become a source of embarrassment later. According to what Jesus says, wherever your treasure is, there's your heart. And according to one of his stories, if what Jesus said is actually truth, he said that there was this rich man that he produced a lot in his harvest, and he didn't know what to do with it. And he bring down his barns, and he built others, and he stored them away, and he said to his soul, enjoy, eat, drink, you have plenty for the future. And Jesus said his word. He said, foolish man. He didn't know that the next day, tomorrow, they will come and get his soul. And everything that he stored, who will get it? It's a story I heard about a man that built a complete empire. He was building his business in a big building. He had a lot of resources in his business. And when he died, his daughter was the heir to everything that he built. But there was one little problem. For him to build his empire, it was despite he never spent time with his daughter. So now that his daughter is the heir, she sees the business as the thing that stole his dad, that stole him away, that kept him busy. And what she did is that she married somebody that his dad would never approve. And now the guy that her dad will never approve is enjoying everything that this man worked his entire life for. So basically, you got to be careful, because the more we get, the more attention that we need to pay, the closer attention we need to pay to where that money is going, because it becomes an embarrassment for us and later. So I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you for you to document your spending for 2 months. This is a challenge. I gave you a challenge a couple of weeks ago. I'm giving you a challenge now. Document your spending. Document your spending for 2 months. If you want to, it's like I want you to spy on your money. Follow it. Just follow it. Try to track it. See where it's going and what it's doing. It's easier now. Create a Google document and share it with your spouse, your roommate, or your friend. It's easy to do now with free software. Or you can use the Cash app, or you can use Venmo. It's right there. It's easy for you to see. Log it for 2 months. Log it for 2 months. And then after you log it and document your spending for 2 months, then sit down and look at it. Sit down and look at it. Take a look at it. Take a look at it and adjust if it's necessary. Adjust if necessary. Adjust. See where your money is going. If you're married right now, I know if you're married and you're watching this, one of you hates me right now for me to proposing this. But I know one of you wants to come in and hug me. And I get that. But just try it. If your objection is, my card does all that, my bank does that, it tracks all the expenses and it's there. That's not my point. Because you know what? Knowing you can know is not the same as knowing. I want you to see where your money is going. I want you to pay close attention to where it's going. It's important that you track it, because if you don't track the money, if you don't keep up with it, you might need to be catching up with it. And money is easier to keep up with than to catch up with. And that's what money will tell you. But there's a story that Jesus will say. And one of the reasons why we're actually talking about money, and you say, but this is supposed to be a church. I came to hear a sermon. Jesus spoke more about money than heaven. And about 38 of his parables, 16 were about money. But one of them, in Matthew chapter 25, Jesus shares a series of parables about the kingdom of heaven and how it intersects with the here and now. How the kingdom of heaven, it's a live thing, it's a dynamic, it's an everyday thing, it's alive. And Jesus said this story, and he said, again, talking about the kingdom, he says, again, I lost the verse. But he said, the verse says, again, it will be like a man. It will be like a man. It will be like a man. It will be like a man going on a journey who called his servant and entrusted his wealth to them. So basically, Jesus said the kingdom of God is like a rich guy that called his servant and entrusted everything that he owned to the servant. So 100% of what he entrusted the servant was his. 0% was theirs. So technically, they didn't own what they've been entrusted with. It was theirs to manage, not to own it. And when he returned, they were, two of them were looking forward to that moment, and one of them was not looking forward to the moment. But do you know, if you know the story, do you know what made the difference? in the story, two of the three servants were looking forward for their owner's return, because they multiply what they were given. But there was one of them that didn't do nothing with what he was given. So technically, he wasn't looking for it. And what made the difference? It was the way that they managed the money, the way that they kept track, the way that they traded with the money, and the way that they kept track of the money. I ask you a question before I let you go if you're a follower of Christ. Are you keeping track of your master's money? Are you keeping track of your master's possession? Remember that according to the scripture, according to Jesus, we're not owners, we are stewards. We are managers. We don't own what we have. We manage what we have been entrusted with. But my question to you, whether you believe, whether you are atheist, or whatever you are, it's like my mom said, I was born without nothing and I'll die without nothing. That means everything that you get to actually own, you actually do not own what you get to use. You are a user, not an owner. So everything you get to use is yours to manage it. The question is, are you keeping track of your stuff? Are you keeping track of the possessions of your master? What happens if he returns today? How are you keeping track? Do you know how much have you been given and trusted with? Because managers should not feel guilty. Money managers don't feel guilty. Money managers feel responsible and accountable for all of it. So if you feel guilty, you should not feel guilty. You should feel responsible for everything that you're being entrusted with. So what are you doing? How much are you giving? How are you keeping up with it? Are you keeping track or are you playing catch up? I thank God for the people that belong to this church, that they're generous with what, because of people like you that actually take a look at what you do and you give away and you actually don't keep track. We're able to do what we do every week here at the church. So I thank God for you. But my challenge to you for 2 months, keep track of all your expenses, of your expending, of everything that comes in and everything that goes out. And take a look at it. And if you need to adjust, please do so. And you'll be glad you did it. Until next time, I'll see you next week with a brand new series that we're going to be starting. It's always a pleasure to come out here and talk with you. Please let us know, get connected with us. We would love to hear from you. We love you. God bless you. And see you next time right here in El Camino.